length. How long is he locked in? Last night, the Atlanta Braves won their 12th game in a row. That's pretty impressive.
Something else.
Trying to catch the Mets, but they lost their second baseman, Ozzie Albies. Did you see? It just he snapped his foot,
Broke it.
fractured it,
The ball didn't even hit it, did
and
it?
I don't think so.
It didn't look like it did. But I mean, it was weird. He just didn't run out of the box after he hit the ball. It looked like something that would happen if the ball hit your foot.
It was crazy. Tim Doolin will talk about that, plus which now we know 4 of the teams in the field of 8 in Omaha, you realize they're SEC teams. A&M, Ole Miss, the last team in the tournament, gets to Omaha. Mike Bianco saves his job, right? And then you've got Arkansas and Auburn made it last night. So there's 4. Guess who else is in the field in Omaha? Texas and Oklahoma.
Softball championship.
It was the softball championship. But here's the thing. 2 years from now, I think, certainly no later than 25, those teams are SEC teams. 6 of the 8 teams in the field will be SEC teams. Is that not crazy?
Best league in baseball.
No question. Best league in everything.
In everything. It just means more. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah, that's what they say. I don't know if it's the best league in basketball, but there's no doubt it's the best league in football. It's the best league in baseball. And I don't know how you could dispute that, especially with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas. Look out. I mean, 6 of the 8 are going to be from that league. 6 of the 8. Crazy. I hate to I'm sure many of you have probably seen this. It is a news story. But there was a good guy in media who came from Chicago, a year younger than me, 68 years of age, and arrived at the Commercial Appeal in 1981, the same year I arrived in Memphis. Pete Wickham, unfortunately, has passed away from cancer at that age of 68. He was with the Commercial Appeal for 14 years. He then went to the Memphis Motor Sports Park. He was also the PR director for the Memphis Pharaohs. I worked with him in that Arena Football League. And a guy with a really dry sense of humor. I would tell you this, a great father, a wonderful guy. Just sad that Pete, the last couple of years were not healthy years for him. He battled through it. He didn't like talking about his sickness. I saw him a couple of times, not that often. Always had a smile on his face. Loved baseball. Loved taking one of his sons to AutoZone Park for Redbirds games. And he was a big minor league baseball coverage guy for the Commercial Appeal. He did that. And just really a wonderful guy. And hate it that at 68 years of age, at a time when he should be really enjoying winding down and really enjoying life, he has been robbed of that. But Pete Wickham, rest in peace. To your sons, to your family, we send our sympathies and our condolences. That is for sure. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure. A reminder that the vacation at home sale going on still. This is a good one because you don't usually get these things longer than 1 month. This is the second month we've had it. We're halfway into June. And really, you can save some money. If you buy a play gym or a trampoline, it's $500 off. Hot tubs in stock, ready to go. And if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you pick it up, bring it to your house, you'll save $1,000. And with above-ground pools, which of course is a Family Leisure specialty, if you're really a do-it-yourselfer and you can not only pick up the pool but install it yourself, you're talking $1,500 off on any stock in-stock pool. And they got a lot of them. You'll love your opportunities. Patio furniture, by the way, also is ready for pickup. All you got to do is get to I-40 and Wooden Road and see our friends at Family Leisure. So last night, Golden State takes an early lead. Here come the Celts. Jason Tatum finally catches fire. Their defense was outstanding. Outstanding. And to start the third quarter, they come back. They were down 12 at the break. They were down 16 at one point in the first half. And it looks like we have a game. Two things that are just awful. And it has been a barometer in this series. Turnovers. I think if they have less than 14 turnovers, they win the game. If they have more than 14 turnovers, they lose the game. Last night, 18 turnovers. Compounding that is missing 10 free throws. How does a pro team miss that many free throws? And this was a crazy game. The Celtics missed their first 12 three attempts. They were midway through the second quarter before they finally hit a three.
I would say that was one of the worst scoring nights in terms of like percentage of shots going in for both teams.
Oh, yeah.
In the playoffs. Like you said, the defense was good, though.
Golden State in the second half couldn't hit a three.
No.
They went through the same kind of drought. And, in fact, Steph Curry, for the first time in 132 games, didn't make a three.
But Clay hit his when he was open, too, especially down the stretch of that game. Talk about missing.
Poole did, too.
So did Poole. If Jordan Poole could guard anybody, I mean, if he just wasn't a turnstile on defense, imagine how many minutes that guy could play, how many points he could score.
Explain this to me, Coach J-Mo, because we should point out that you have been a college coach. Explain to me how a guy with the athleticism, the quick first step that Jordan Poole has, how can he be a bad defender? He's not weak. He has leaping ability, and he's got the quick step. How is it possible that you can be a bad defender with those attributes?
I think it could just be, you're absolutely right. The quick first step is the one that gets me the most. It has to just be a technical thing. Like instead of sliding to cut off a drive, his first step like opens himself up. Like a turnstile.
But couldn't Steve Kerr change that? Wouldn't he see that?
Well, yeah, but, in the heat of the moment, it probably takes a minute to get that going. I mean, I'm sure this offseason, that's going to be all they work on. It's like just agility going back and forth and that first step. So I'll give him credit there because he is scoring well. So you have to think that that's the key for him this offseason.
Well, let's say this. He's a good scorer. He's not a great scorer. I know he had that streak when Steph Curry got hurt.
Scoring like 30.
But he's not the scorer Curry is. Therefore, because Curry doesn't play great defense either, but they just attack Poole. They think he's awful.
They do. And you can't have two of those guys on the court at the same time. Like, not to say Steph, I mean, I don't want to say Steph's a liability on defense, but let's just say he's not the best defender in the world. Two of those guys, having two guys you can just drive right at's a big problem. But speaking of what you were saying about missing shots, too, and the good defense, Tatum airballed a couple of shots in the fourth quarter there because of the good defense of Andrew Wiggins. It was unbelievable.
Well, let's face it. I said this a little bit earlier. Wiggins was good on both sides of the floor. His defense on Tatum, especially in the fourth quarter, was nothing short of sensational. He was great. And he ends up with 26 points, 13 rebounds. I mean, the guy is a rebounding machine. I can't remember which. Didn't he have one game with 16 rebounds?
Oh, he cleans the glass. It makes it so Draymond doesn't have to. Draymond last night is getting out on the break, and Wiggins gets the ball, kicks it out on the break to Draymond. Now Draymond's a force to be reckoned with, pushing the ball in transition. It's such a good. I mean, you got to give credit to Steve Kerr. The way all these pieces on the Warriors fit together is. I mean, they had Kevin Durant on a team, and they were one of the best teams in basketball for a while. But this is, to me, one of the most impressive teams that the Warriors have put together on this championship run.
Oh, and just think about it. They're all going to be back.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Wiggins, what a trade that was. I saw the pieces. I don't remember, but they traded three guys for Wiggins. And all three of those guys, well, one was D'Angelo Russell, now that I think about it.
Amari Spellman and Jacob Evans.
I mean, come on. That's a steal. You got a starting all-star and a guy, and Curry's going to be the MVP of this series, but a guy who you could make a case as the MVP of this series.
On both ends.
And then they're going to get James Wiseman, you think, and I hate to say it, but he'll be a much better version of Kevon Looney.
No doubt. And that's really their biggest weakness right now is that position. And imagine if Wiseman is everything cracked up to be and you have Looney on the bench. You have no drop off in size. That might even be better next
The
year.
only thing you got, well, Poole will get better, I suspect, but the only thing that's a detriment is the age of Curry and Thompson. That's it.
And Draymond. But
Oh,
I mean,
and
not
Draymond.
nearly to the degree that Steph and
Well,
Clay aging is.
you're right. I think Draymond can last longer because of the things that he does: screen setting, distributing the ball, playing defense. It's this team. You talk about lasting a long time. The Bulls did the same sort of a deal because they kept changing parts. First, they had in the Steve Kerr role. Later was Paxson. They had, I'm trying to remember who their first big guy was that basically was replaced. It was an Australian guy. I can't believe I can't think of his name.
Tony Kukoc.
No.
No. Oh, that's not a big guy.
No, yeah, he was a wing player.
Bill Cartwright.
Bill Cartwright,
Yeah.
and then there was the Australian guy that came in after Bill Cartwright, and then you had Dennis Rodman replaced
Luke Longley.
Luke Longley, right, and then Dennis Rodman replaced Horace Grant. So Phil Jackson and the GM Jerry Krause, they just kept changing parts around around Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. And it worked out for longevity. Well, this is going to happen with these guys. And the part that Draymond Green plays, he can age. They'll be good for the next 3 or 4 years.
You'd have to think so, certainly. So you said you don't think that the Celtics can win 2 games in a row. Do they win the next one and go Game 7?
I think they will. I think we're going to see a Game 7. I hope we do. I
hope we do too.
What?
I hope we do as well.
Yeah. But like it was like yesterday. I had to be honest with you. Yesterday, we were trying to make picks. I mean, I really didn't know who would win. I kind of thought Golden State would because it was going to go back there. But you took a look and you saw the Celtics hadn't lost 2 in a row, right? This whole year in the playoffs. Well, something was going to have to give. And the way Golden State has played, particularly in fourth quarters, the last couple of games, even this third quarter, which has been theirs, right? That was the Celtics this time.
It was the reverse of what's happened in all the other games.
But I don't think you can overcome against in a championship series because you're playing the best, right? You can't overcome 18 turnovers and 10 missed free throws. I'm thinking as I'm watching the Celtics, I'm going, This reminds me of the Tigers, my team, right?
Turning the ball over.
Turnovers, missed free throws.
You got to think, though, I mean, if we're looking for positives, though, you have to feel at least a little bit good if you're the Celtics that you were in that game. Like you said, that run in the third quarter, I mean, you were in that game with 18 turnovers and with shooting, 65% from the free throw line.
And let me go back. We've got an experienced coach in Steve Kerr, and we've got a rookie coach.
That's right.
In Udoka. And I hate to say it, but fourth quarters, adjustments. What surprised me, and Boston destroyed themselves with the turnovers and the missed free throws, but in this series, they have owned points in the paint. Right?
Absolutely.
Last night, 50-36. Now, what is that?
With Kevon Looney down there and Draymond Green down there. I mean, when you have Robert Williams on the other side with Al Horford, that's what they pride themselves on, is interior defense.
I don't understand how that occurred. There's coaching involved in that, I suspect. And, veterans versus first-timers.
And Wiggins.
Experience, baby.
And Wiggins getting going, too. He scores a lot with a foot in the paint as well.
Wiggins was definitely the key last night. More than anything. Well, the 18 turnovers were big. But Wiggins' defense, and some of that was the defense of Golden State. Let's not forget, we talk about Boston and their defense. They were number 1 in the regular season, but Golden State was number 2. So they don't play chop liver defense either. All right, last thing before we take a break, we're going to talk baseball with Tim Doolin, our friend Bruce Howard from Tulsa. We'll talk about Frank Haith. We'll talk a little bit about what you can expect in 2 years because we got a new league. And we'll get the take of the play-by-play announcer of Tulsa, Bruce Howard, on Frank Haith and on a new American Athletic Conference. But I want to end this segment talking a little bit about the U.S. Open. I can't wait for it. Do you watch much of like Golf Central on Golf Channel? I don't know how many people really watch that stuff.
The morning show, yeah.
Okay, I don't usually watch the morning show. I watch Golf Central, and I love like their live looks because I have really come to respect. I didn't like him at first because he was so critical of Tiger, and I think there was a personality thing there. But I don't understand why a network like CBS or NBC or ABC, excuse me, that does golf. I do not understand why no one has grabbed Brandel Chamblee, especially when Johnny Miller left and they hired Paul Azinger, who was doing two different networks. And I have nothing against Azinger. I think he was one of the greatest Ryder Cup captains we've had. But Brandel Chamblee, first of all, knows the history of all of the PGA Tour and all of the golf courses better than anybody. And he understands analytics better than anybody, better than any of the analysts that are out there right now. He cuts to the heart of the matter, and he does not mince words. He's never vanilla. He tells it like he sees it. He's great. I don't understand, and look, Sir Nick is good. I get that, but he's not as good. And I don't understand why when NBC let Johnny Miller go, they didn't grab Brandel Chamblee, because that would have been the perfect replacement.
And they got
anyway.
And they got Chamblee working overtime too. He's on TV. I mean, it seems 20. Whatever golf is being talked about on Golf Network, Brandel Chamblee's in the middle.
I don't know what he's making, but he deserves more. And I'm telling you, last night he spoke about Phil Mickelson, and he ripped Phil Mickelson, going all the way back to the Ryder Cup where Phil Mickelson tried to point the finger and make Tom Watson a villain. It was beautifully crafted. The way he ripped the phoniness of Phil Mickelson, it was incredible. I really wonder what the reaction to Phil will be. I asked yesterday, will Phil Mickelson get booed? I think he will. I think he deserves to be booed. And the way he's answering now, all these guys are answering with the most stupid. Why don't they just say, I did it for the money? Be honest. Bryson DeChambeau, you know what he kept saying? It's a business decision. He wouldn't just say, I'm a greedy son of a gun. Didn't have to really put it in those terms, but he could have said, look, I want to make money while I can. I've been injured. I see this is fragile. I'm going to grab it while I can. Business decision. I want more time with my family. Oh, this will be good for my foundation in Dallas to help other people. Really? I'm not buying that for 1 second. Anyway, totally, I love Brandel Chamblee. And the way he absolutely captured the essence of Phil Mickelson last night. If you can YouTube that, I don't know if you can, but if you get a chance, try that. We're going to talk baseball with our friend Tim Doolin in 1 minute. Our title sponsor, it's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. You know you'll never pay more than sticker price, even when there's a shortage. Law of supply and demand, they're never going to take advantage of you at Homer Skelton Hyundai. That's why they get so much repeat business. Right there at the corner of Highway 78, that's Lamar in Memphis, and the first exit in Mississippi Craft Road. Go see the good guys at Homer. And this portion of the show brought to you by Eflin Insurance. The Eflin way is a collaborative way. It's a unique way. What a great job they do at protecting your family. Whether it's home insurance, an auto program, life insurance, they're going to get to know you. They sit you down. Matt will, or other guys on his team like Andrew or Heath or Grant. They'll get to know who you are, what your needs may be, what your budget is, and they pick the right program to protect you. Same thing with commercial insurance. virtually unlimited access to protect small and mid-sized businesses. They'll help you forecast out what you think are your most important assets, what you think your future earnings might be, and they'll protect everything the right way. And they're big Tiger fans, too. In Matt Eflin's number, it's 901-386-GUR, which is 4777. He picked GUR because he loves the University of Memphis. So get protected the right way, the collaborative way, with the Eflin Insurance Team. Baseball up close and personal with Tim Doolin in just a minute.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
It's time to vacation at home with Family Leisure. That's right. Enjoy a vacation in your own backyard with a little help from Family Leisure. Like play gyms and trampolines, they're now $500 off. And those trampolines, by the way, they've got that mesh on the side, so trampolines are now safe and you'll be the hit of the neighborhood. They've got hot tubs in stock and ready to go, and you can get up to $1,000 off when you pick them up. All kinds of do-it-yourself pool specials, like savings of up to $1,500 on all in-stock pools when you pick it up and install them yourself. And if you're looking for patio furniture, then stop on in, because they have tons in stock and they're ready for you to pick up. So get ready for that vacation at home with the help from Family Leisure. Family Leisure's Vacation at Home sale. It's happening right now at Witten Road and I-40, where family and fun truly do come together.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles, ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at triumphautosales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
How do you grow your business without spending more on credit card fees? Call Blake Jones, your local Mid-South Advanced Merchant Services representative. He works with your business to help it grow up to 3.9% instantly. Small business owners already have enough cost. Let Blake Jones help you lower your credit card processing cost risk-free. Absolutely no cost to you, the small business owner. Call 662-408-9324. That's 662-408-9324. Call Blake Jones today and start saving money tomorrow.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Just got word from Mickey Barker at City Golf, June 24th. That is when the opening of Overton Park will take place. There's a press conference on the 24th. On the 25th, I know they're going to start playing. They're going to have a bunch of folks. I think Greg and Eli are going to be able to play in that thing. It is going to be something to see the new Overton Park. And then I think a week after that or two will be the opening, or the resumption is the best word, of the Overton Park Junior Golf Tournament, the OPJ, which was a tradition in Memphis, and they may have like 200 players. It's going to be incredible. City Golf, man, they're investing. Pine Hill, Fox Meadows at the moment with new greens. Audubon's going to get a redo, and this Overton Park thing, starting on the 24th, is going to be very, very special. City Golf, it is a special thing. Tim Doolin joins us. He is at a baseball tournament. Where are you, Tim Doolin?
I'm at USA Baseball in Cary, North Carolina.
Ah, USA Baseball. So there's USA Baseball in Millington, which we love. And now there's one in Cary. Cary is right outside of Charlotte, right?
No, it's actually Raleigh-Durham.
Oh, Raleigh-Durham. Okay.
Area, yeah. It's their national training site. Amazing complex.
Huh. And I can tell you what I think is amazing is half of the field in Omaha, Nebraska comes from the SEC. And if you count what is going to happen in the next couple of years, Texas and Oklahoma, you've got 6 of the 8 in the College World Series, all from one power conference. Is that good or bad for college baseball?
Well, I mean, I think it's good in the sense that we're not surprised that the SEC has been and will continue to be the powerhouse of the country as far as college baseball goes, and it's pretty exciting to see, especially since we're in SEC country.
How have they done that?
Well, I think when you look back at what Ron Folk was able to do in Starkville and convince and prove to the ADs across the SEC that you could not only win in baseball but you could be a revenue producer. To me, he's the epitome of it. And then you had Skip Bertman following behind him, and so everybody's played on that.
And then you added Arkansas, and they've been really. I mean, what they do with baseball there is phenomenal. The crowds,
well, I mean,
the atmosphere.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. All of them. Look at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is probably hottest team in the country right now, and they've got one of the best fan bases and atmosphere of anybody in college baseball.
And since you bring up Ole Miss, you and I speculated earlier this year after the Bianco had a team that was at one time number one, off to that terrible start. There were a lot of whispers that his reign could be over, and here he is in the College World Series. I guess he saved his job, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, any given day, anybody can beat anybody, and all of a sudden they got hot at the right time, and they've got serious momentum. They're going to be a dangerous team to deal with. I can assure you that. And I still like Stanford. Obviously, Arkansas is playing good, so it's pretty interesting.
How surprised were you that Tennessee is out? And I do want to say this because I think it bears repeating. Tennessee is not the first number one overall seed to not make Omaha. They are the third straight. Arkansas didn't make it last year. UCLA didn't make it the year before.
Yeah, and then, it's tough. I mean, Tennessee was on such a high for such a long time, and, they were dominant basically from the get-go. And so it's just hard to maintain that. And then they had a couple of, issues with one of the best players gets thrown out of the game. Frank Anderson, the pitching coach, gets ejected, and he's out for the next 3 games, so he couldn't call pitches. So it was just tough for Tennessee.
All right. Let me ask you a little bit about the transfer portal, how it can help teams, I think, like Memphis. And I'll give you the example. Carrick Jackson on the job for a week. I know he's lost a couple of people in the portal, but he picked up a player from Georgia, and he picked up a player from Mississippi State. You and I have talked about how if you're a pitcher that might be a weekday pitcher instead of a weekend pitcher, or a guy that can't even get into the rotation at the SEC level because all of the talent is stockpiled there, that you can go to a school like Memphis and become a weekend pitcher right away.
Yeah, there's no question, and it's Garrett's done a good job so far, and it's only been a short tenure for him, and I can assure you he's out there right now looking for more because he lost his number one pitcher to Mississippi State, and so he's got to replace that guy.
So in essence, we've seen a trade with Mississippi State.
Yeah, basically, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he picked up a fifth-year outfielder that's a really good player and electric speed and knows how to play the game and obviously played at a high level at Mississippi State.
Atlanta Braves lost their second baseman last night, Ozzie Albies, but they won their 12th in a row. How devastating is that loss? And is that Eastern Division with the Mets and the Braves, that's really kind of special.
Well, there's no question losing a guy like Albies. Not only is he a great player, but he's electric. He brings energy, and he's the core up the middle with Dansby Swanson, and it'll be tough to replace him. I'm sure they've got guys that are good, but it's going to be tough to replace a guy like that.
That foot is fractured too. That's pretty much out for the year, isn't it? Uh-oh. Did we lose him? I think we lost him.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
I didn't hear your last question.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think you must have hit that mute button or something. Last thing is when it's a fracture, that's pretty much out for the year, isn't it?
Well, I don't know about it for the year, but it'll be a lengthy time, and they're not going to rush him. I can assure you that.
All right. Last thing, Tony La Russa, on a 1-2 count, intentionally walks a guy to get to the next batter, who then hits a home run, and the White Sox lose. The Chicago media asking him questions. He's surly. The fans are chanting, "Fire Tony La Russa." I know you know Tony. What do you think is going on there? The White Sox have underperformed. They were clearly the favorites to win the American League Central. and they can't even get to 500. What's the story on the south side of Chicago?
Well, I don't think he's going to get fired. I think if anything, he would resign, which I don't think he's going to do that either. I think he's going to grind it out and see if he can get them back on track. That's the key.
What did you think
and
of that move?
I think it was a stupid move, but I mean, he's always been outside the box. You know, he batted the pitcher eighth for several years with the Cardinals.
Boy, that used to get George. Remember George Lapidus, how mad he got at that? Oh my God!
Yeah, I remember me and you sitting in the studio with George.
He just thought that was the stupidest thing, especially by a guy who considers himself a genius. And I think it's stupid too. Honestly, if you're going to make that move when it's no balls, no strikes, and you just go, you know what, I don't like this matchup, I'm going to go with the on-deck hitter, I got it. When you're ahead 1-2, why?
Well, if anything, you pitch around him. If you want to unintentionally, intentionally walk that guy, you sure don't. You don't put him on with a 1-2 count, and obviously it burned him. So
crazy. All right, I know you're in the middle of a tournament. We'll let you go a little bit earlier. Enjoy. Hope your team does well.
All right, thanks, Wolo.
Thank you. That is our friend Tim Doolin on baseball. He is brought to you in part by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric. There are so many things that you can do with Conway that make them, I think, special. You know about the tune-up for $69, that's for sure. But don't forget, if you have any kind of backup, multiple plumbing fixtures in your home can back up in the spring when the roots start to grow. It happens all the time. For $99, Conway comes out and they do the main drain clean out. And by the way, if you have any issues, once you've paid that $99 and they got to come back out, no charge, 1 penny. They come back and they open it again for free. They're going to inspect your main sewer line. They use the state-of-the-art Vision Router camera that looks throughout the entire system. So if you've got any problems with backout, no worry. Just call Conway like you do with air conditioning and heating. You can do it for plumbing too at 384-3511. Serena Williams, how about this? She posted a picture of brand new white tennis shoes on some grass. The indication being that Serena is going to try to come back and play Wimbledon in a couple of weeks. That is so great for the game. And they got this young girl who's won all these tournaments and matches in a row. Swiatek, Polish player. I mean, she's on a run. She's number one right now. If that ended up being a matchup, because I don't know what the ranking for Serena is now. She hasn't played in such a long time. That she's not going to get a great seeding, that's for sure. She could play her early on. So if she hasn't totally officially entered, so you're not going to get a seeding. I know you're looking for that, J-Mo. But Swiatek will be the very heavy favorite to win Wimbledon. And this is just a note for the passing of time. For the first time in 20 years, there is not a Roger Federer, there is not a Rafael Nadal, there is not a Novak Djokovic in the top two positions. How about that?
Serena is also unranked in singles play. But in doubles, she's ranked 1,208.
Wow. Unranked. So, crazy. I mean, she doesn't have to go through Monday qualifying. She's got enough lifetime exemptions for that. And that is nuts. But how about the big three? Not one or two for the first time in 20 years. What an era we've seen with those three guys. And I'll throw Andy Murray in there because he had a couple of majors in that time frame as well. But, wow, that is really, really something else. All right, we take a break. When we come back, the news, Frank Haith is coming. I should mention, Tigers did not get Kerwin Walton. I think I mentioned earlier he had down to 3, and it's Texas Tech that ends up getting the sharpshooter. So Penny's going to have to find. He's got a man as an assistant coach now. He needs a couple of players, that's for certain. But we'll talk with the voice of Tulsa, Bruce Howard, who, I think we had him on when we talked about Tubby Smith, and now we're going to talk to him about Frank Haith. He comes your way in just a minute.
You have opinions?
Uh-huh.
Of course you do. Everyone does. Hit us up on the AutoZone listener line, 360-8255, 360-8255.
Let's talk savings, Mid-South. Colin Johnston here from DeSoto Auto Sales. I want to go camping, but I can't till I sell more cars. So this month, my sticky situation could be your sweet solution. You could save a ton on a nicer, newer car. The more you spend, the more you save. Been burned by credit before? My For the People credit approval process is sweeter than chocolate. We want to help you drive a nicer, newer car today. So if you want to be a happy camper, stop burning up in a car you hate. Truck on down to DeSoto Auto Sales today. But hurry, this deal's done once I finally go camping. I'm Colin Johnston, your dealer for the people. New cars are arriving daily. See them all at DeSotoAutoSales.com. That's DeSotoAutoSales.com.
Credit requires bank approval. Negative equity may be refinanced. Vehicle purchase price determines actual discount. Offer absolutely expires on June 30th, 2022.
Hey friends, Bill Russell, and it's June, and that's the month for brides. So many marriages happen in June, and that means that there are a lot of happy couples this month. It also means there are a lot of folks who have anniversaries in June. A lot of men who need to remind their wives how much they love them now. For 5 decades at Russell Brothers, we've been helping fellas show their wives that after however many years, they love and appreciate those sweethearts now even more than they did on their wedding day. With a new ring or a pair of diamond earrings, perhaps a beautiful sapphire bracelet or a stunning emerald pendant, we have so many ways to say thank you and say I love you. Men, if you have an anniversary this month, you need to remind her in a tangible way that you know how remarkably wonderful she is. Special gifts for special ladies at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Cruising through our Tuesday. It's actually not as sweltering outside, about as hot, but not as humid as it was yesterday. If you're thinking about going out and playing golf or anything like that, I'd do it about right now. I wouldn't wait much longer, that is for sure. In the meantime, a little irony here. Bruce Howard and I had many discussions over the last year or two about Frank Haith and would he survive as the coach at Tulsa. Here's a guy who's been a national coach of the year. He's coached at powerhouses like Miami, like Missouri, and heck, he was 500 against the University of Memphis at Tulsa. That matchup zone was always baffling to the Tigers, and it appears that he is headed to Memphis as the lead assistant for Penny Hardaway. So let's bring in Bruce Howard. We talked to him about a couple of coaches. When the Tigers hired Tubby Smith, we had Bruce on because he worked with Tubby at Tulsa, and now we do the same thing with you, Bruce, because of Frank Haith. Are you surprised he's taking this assistant role?
I wasn't really sure what might happen with Frank. You had heard rumors about that he might be looking for another head coaching job, but it probably, you would assume that would not be at the level of the American Athletic Conference. He has a really good relationship with Rick Barnes.
Yeah.
So, I can't remember. I know at one point they had an assistant coaching job open. I'm not sure how quickly that closed down. So there was certainly the thought that, hey, he may hook up with him again. So I'm not terribly surprised that he's the lead assistant somewhere because he's a good coach. And, that happens a lot with head coaches. They end up as really good assistants elsewhere, after whatever happens. So I not terribly surprised. I'm a little surprised it's Memphis. I thought it might be, like I said, Tennessee or maybe maybe somewhere in the North Carolinas, because that's kind of his home.
Well, the other irony to this is he is a Rick Barnes guy, and Rick Barnes and Penny's relationship is about as frosty as an iceberg. It's not a pretty picture there. Maybe he'll be a fence mender, and the Memphis Tennessee series will resume.
Yeah, I mean, that'd probably be pretty good. And Frank's a good guy. He's a relationship guy, and that's the one thing that you'll find when you work with him is he's a really good dude, and he's as far as the media is concerned and what you and I get involved with, he's as good as there is. He knows, he understands. And of course, as a head coach, it's different than as an assistant. But, as he had mentioned to one of my guys, Rick Corey, our color analyst, right. I remember Rick mentioning to him when they had their first meeting, they said, he said, "Hey, I'm going to have to ask you some tough questions after some tough losses." And Frank just kind of smiles and he says, "Rick, I'm a big boy." So the point being, he's always been a pro, when it comes to, the media and that sort of thing. He understands, hey, I got to do this interview, and and you don't always say that about all coaches,
Right.
Most of them are pretty good, but, occasionally you get that guy that, that's really intransigent and doesn't want to talk at all after a loss and that sort of thing. Frank was not that guy. He was really good to work with.
What do you think he's most known for? Is it the matchup defense, which gave the Tigers fits?
Well, here's the funny thing, Dave. I mean, when he was first hired, coming from Missouri and obviously had all the success he had at Miami, you thought, okay, well, here's a guy that's a recruiter. I'm not sure if he can, is he a great coach or not, or blah, blah, blah. But he comes into Tulsa and he has basically Conference USA level players left over by Danny Manning. And these were good players, obviously. But in his first 2 years, they were just inches away from winning the championship in the American.
Right.
So right away, you realize this guy can coach. He's a really good coach. And he took, those players and added, a few on top of that. But I think coming in, everybody thought, hey, he's an offensive-oriented guy. But through various defensive style coaches or defensive-oriented coaches, I think he got much better in terms of his understanding of defense. I'm not saying he never understood defense. What I'm saying is I think he really accelerated his knowledge of defense through Dennis Felton and a few others, that kind of came through that were really good defensive coaches. Mm-hmm. And he kind of glommed onto that, that matchup zone. I didn't do any studying of his defenses at Miami or even at Missouri, but it was at Tulsa. That became the thing. It was a really good zone, and it was a tough zone, and it was a malleable zone, if you will. It was something that teams had a hard time identifying. What are they in? And that would that would sabotage almost. The first two possessions, you didn't know what they were in. Sometimes it would like sabotage a possession or two, and so I thought he did a terrific job with that. And so, what is he known for? Heck, little of all of that, I guess, Dave.
What about recruiting? Because he's going to be, I think, the lead assistant. He's going to replace Cody Toppert, and Penny and Toppert did a darn good job of recruiting. I think you recruited well at Missouri and Miami for sure. I don't know about Tulsa. Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there were, if there were a couple of swings and misses that he had, they would be guys like, 4-star guys like Keyshawn Embry-Simpson from Arkansas and Curtis Haywood from Georgia Tech, who were highly recruited players, and they got them on the rebound, obviously, as transfers. And, if you were to ask me, where did he fail, if you want to call it failure, the second leading all-time winner at Tulsa, I would say is that he swung and missed on some guys he thought were going to really, really be good. Now, was that his assistants? Was that him? Was that, talent evaluation done by his assistants and then he signed off on it? Dave, I just don't know. But I think he's always proven to be a good recruiter. And to be a good recruiter, you have to have, relationships. And I think he's really good at that.
Wow.
He's always been kind of a player's coach to a certain extent, although he can really be tough on guys. But I always thought that, his relationship with the guys was always very good.
Second leading all-time winner at
Yes.
Tulsa?
Yes.
Well, some of that is 8 years, right? I mean, that's got to be longevity.
Yes, yes. I mean, when you have Bill Self, 3
Right.
years, Tubby Smith 4 years,
Yeah.
they just can't add up the victories. The number one is Doug Wojcik, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's fascinating. And you can ask me this question, and what can I say? The two leading winners, number one and number two, both resigned or were fired. So
Right.
so it's just one of those things. And Wojcik was here 8 years as well, and had moderate success. And one thing Frank did that Wojcik didn't do, and obviously Doug had to battle against the Calipari Memphis teams all those years.
Right.
But one thing Frank did is he got Tulsa to the NCAA tournament, and he also won a co-championship in the American. So he did a couple of things Wojcik didn't do in 8 years. So I mean, it's I think the fan base at Tulsa, like it or not, I think through all of those years, those successes they had through the 90s, and being basically being Gonzaga before Gonzaga was Gonzaga, and making all those Sweet 16s and Elite Eight the one year, that sort of thing. I think the Tulsa fan base through that experience has had a little higher expectation than what we've seen over the last 20 years.
Well,
I mean, there's been two trips to the NCAA in the last 20 years, whereas when I first joined TU, it was we went to 8 NCAAs in 10 years, reached the Elite Eight once, reached Sweet 16 3 times, and won an NIT title. So I mean, that's the sort of success I think Tulsa fans remember. And maybe the reality is a little different now, but I think Tulsa wants to get back to that.
How many years have you been the voice now?
29.
29. So those first 9 years were pretty good. The last 20, a little lean, but that could change, and the league is going to change. I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. You've been around a bunch of different leagues now. Where would you say goodbye to UCF after this year, Cincinnati, and Houston? Welcome Rice, North Texas, North Carolina, Charlotte, Texas, San Antonio, UAB, and Florida Atlantic. Now, some of those teams, like UNC Charlotte, have actually been in a league with Memphis and Tulsa. Same thing with Rice. Where would you rate this new league that Memphis and Tulsa are going to be involved in 2 years with some of the others?
Boy, that's a really good question, because I don't know how the Memphis fans feel about this, but clearly the American, as it is now constituted, and obviously will change, is the most difficult league Tulsa's ever been in. Would you agree that Memphis has not been in a more difficult league, although the Metro was really good?
Oh,
right?
the Metro is a better league.
Yeah.
Louisville, Cincinnati, Marquette was a good team in those days.
Yeah.
That was a better league.
So, and I would go back to the '60s when the Missouri Valley had Louisville, and I can't remember if Memphis was in the league, but they had Louisville.
They were. Yes, they were. Memphis was in the same league with Tulsa in like 4 leagues now.
Right. I mean, and if you look back in the history, 1969 team defeated 4 ranked teams in the Valley, consecutively. I mean, they were playing ranked teams almost every night in that league. That was the Valley of Death, as they used to call it.
Yeah.
So, I would say that's, that and the 60s Valley League for Tulsa were the most difficult, and the current configuration of the American would be the 2 toughest leagues Tulsa's been involved in. Now, I'm not answering your question in terms of how does it compare, because it's kind of tough to. I mean, how much have you followed FAU? How much have you followed UTSA? Obviously, their football program was good. I mean, I haven't paid attention to Rice in a whole long time.
You know what? Florida and Atlantic and North Texas and Texas San Antonio, I think we know them more for football than we do for basketball. North Texas, I think, has had Johnny Jones and my friend Charlie Leonard. They were coaches there, and they did well when they were Sun Belt teams. I have no idea what the jump up will be like for those teams. UNC Charlotte was in CUSA for a little bit.
Right. And so I think, Dave, it's important that you have to keep an eye on how they're raising their game. You want this conversion of different teams and that sort of thing to rise all tides. So instead of dragging the better teams down, so I guess the point is, is UTSA the UCF of 20 years ago? Are some of these are these universities going to at least invest or look at investing in athletics to the point where they can rise their tide, so to speak, and help the league out? I think that remains to be seen. But think about UCF from 20-25 years ago. They were in whatever that was, the Big Pond Conference.
They were a Division II school with Dante Culpepper. So they came a long way, baby, and hopefully these schools will as well. In the meantime, Bruce, I guess we'll just enjoy one more year with our fellow friends.
Exactly. You use that term very, very loosely, that friends thing, huh? I imagine there'll be some fan hating going on during the course of the year, and I'm sure it'll be all above board, but
Absolutely. Bruce, as always, we appreciate it. Hope you have a great summer. Look forward to football just a couple of months away.
Absolutely, Dave. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Bruce Howard, longtime 29-year voice of the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. He's brought to you by our good friend Ken Garland. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Ken knows it's a big commitment you're making. If you're building your dream home, there's a lot of money involved. He understands that. That's why he works closely with you. Sees all the little details, big picture, all at once. He will discuss every decision with you, and he's seen it all. If you want to see it all, go to kengarland.com. You'll see what he and his dad, before him, 2 generations of building dream homes or renovating homes in the Memphis area. I call it renovation with innovation. You want the modern amenities. You don't want to leave your lot. You don't want to leave your location. Okay, we get that. You'll see he'll put in the California closets. He'll put the big island in the kitchen. He'll put in the video room for you with the speakers in the walls. He understands all of that. All you got to do is call and talk. 751-1632. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Thank you, Tim Doolin and Bruce Howard. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody. Day.
I often say they've set the bar for